Wow. Thank you so much, Eugene. I appreciate that. Oh, okay. Okay, so let's get this started again real quick. Um, Hello, and thanks for joining this session. Today we're still working on our chatbot, and we're working on syncing the recorded video with the recorded chat messages so that as you're watching an episode that's been previously recorded, you can see the chat come in at the correct time-ish with the video so that it's sort of like you're seeing the conversation happening real time as someone would online. So let's take a quick look at the API itself. Here we have session 81 in our local development version, and we can see that we're only receiving about 5 messages per payload, but we are given a next page token. We use the next page token to request the next series of messages. So if I keep pressing reload, I'm always going to get the same first 5 messages, but the next page token changes. We use the has next value to determine whether or not there are other messages that are already available. So this would be the case where maybe we get the first 30 messages and then there aren't any other messages, so then we might want to start polling a little less frequently for the other messages. So the way this works, next page token, there we go. So we can see now we have some different messages that have come in, and we keep getting this next page token, and we can keep using this. So we have has next true, and as long as that says true, we can keep paging through the chat messages until we get has next false, and then we can slow things down a little bit. The way that this works in the code, we have a Astrocasts chat web component. From the previous session, we had been passing in the polling URL and in progress. We're also going to pass in an additional value that we aren't using yet. We're going to pass in session ID as well. The web component itself, we have a class specifically designed to handle the polling. The polling will get the URL. The URL gets generated with the next page token if it's set. So this is how we make sure that we get the right information. When we get a response, we update the next page token to whatever we got from the payload, and then we process all of the messages and add them to the store. The part where we deal with has next is here. So if we have has next, we are going to set another timeout to redo polling after 500 milliseconds. So that's going to be relatively fast. If we do not have has next, we look to see if the session is currently in progress. So this would be if you're watching, say, the live feed right now for the live session, then we're going to want to poll every 20 seconds. Otherwise, if it's a pre-recorded episode, we still want to poll, but we don't have to poll nearly as frequently. So we're going to poll every 2 minutes. So this is how these things kind of interact with each other. If there's ever an error, what we're going to do is still do another round of polling, but we're going to slow things down a little bit. What we're doing here is setting the timeout to, I think this is 2 minutes if it's in progress. So if there was an error, we kind of want to slow things down. Otherwise, if it's not in progress, then we don't really need to check any more often than like every 4 minutes. So this slows things down a bit if we get an error, which is fine because either the error is temporary, but probably going to be isolated to a specific set of time. So this sort of will hopefully help keep us from doing something like every 2 seconds an error is being generated. So this is sort of how the polling stuff works. This was what we were working on quite a bit leading up to this, was getting this API up and running, and now we're actually consuming it. So if we go to, let's see here. Oh, I don't remember what it was now. Let's go to our admin. I need to get the correct thing, but I also want to start our consumer. Is that not running? And locally, I need to push our episode online. So let's do bin console. There we go. And that's going to wake up our bot so that it will start paying attention to some of the chat messages. We're already getting these chat messages from the production site, but not from my local dev site. As you can see, one of the cool things about YouTube is that YouTube is doing the same sort of pagination thing. So we can see that even though we weren't actually looking for the YouTube messages coming in, we still got to get these messages. So it is kind of nice that we're able to do that. Like it looks like Supernova joined on Twitch, but we aren't going to be able to see that on the dev site because the Twitch driver is actually looking real time. So anyway, so that's up and running. The thing that I needed to do, and let's see here. There we go. Now we show up as online. I need to go to session, and then I want to find out which session is session 81. Oh, that's not good. All right, let's go here. Session, I think it's 81. Here we go. So designing an API continuation token. This is the session ID that we're looking at. So let's go ahead and open up the Astrocasts link. Locally, we have this little chat section here. So the chat section doesn't do anything yet, but let's reload the page and let's watch the network come in. So it's going to be bringing in the messages and adding them to our store. And they go pretty quickly up to this point, and now it's reached the point where it says has next false. So originally these messages came in quickly. Now we're going to be stuck here for a little bit, I think 20 seconds or so, because it's going to look for additional messages that aren't going to be there. So let's go ahead and wait just another couple of seconds to see if this actually happens as advertised. Let me double check what the in progress. Oh, actually, no, it's going to be relatively slow. It's going to be 2 minutes before it tries to pull that information again. So I'm not going to do anything with that for now. I'm going to leave this go. And maybe when we come back, we can see. All right, so we have the data, and what we're doing right now is pretty straightforward. Let's look at our store. I think these don't actually have implementations yet. Those are going to be things that we might work on today. Raw message, so this is where we add. So right now we're just pushing the messages raw onto the messages container, which is just an array. So this is where we might need to do something a little smarter. So right now the connected callback for our Astrocast chat web component is getting some information and creating these objects and then kicking things off. What we might want to do is be a little smarter about some of this, because the session ID is going to be important. The session ID is what we're looking at here, because we're looking specifically at this session. So we're going to get that value. So this is the bit that was in the HTML we looked at earlier. I'm going to pull that up again real quick. So we passed in session ID here. So session ID equals attribute session ID. And then we don't really care about it at the point of polling. At least I don't think we do. I think we want to do some filtering at the store level. So essentially, these messages have the session ID associated with them. So we want to look at the session ID and determine whether or not the messages that are being added are at all related to the session that we're actually looking at. So we're going to give the store the session ID. What I want to do, though, is string to integer. Yeah, let's try this. String radix. Yeah, so I think I want to do that. So get attribute. It's going to return a string or null. So let's do number.parseInt. So we can be sure that we're actually going to get an int value here. Things will be weird if we give a non-number session ID, but that would theoretically never happen. So let's go ahead and do that, and then pass the session ID into the store. So we'll do session ID. Okay, and then inside raw message, do if raw message dot session ID is not equal to this dot session ID. We'll just return. All right, so I think that will ensure that we won't get stuff in here that is for a different session. So I'm going to do, and this is going to be more interesting once we start looking at the pusher integration, because the pusher integration is going to ensure that new messages for any session, whether it be a previously recorded or a live session, will come through here as well. So at any point, if say Supernova is off on some other episode, makes a comment, that comment is going to come through here. So that's kind of the thing that we'll have to worry about. So console log. And then let's do and I have the watcher running, so I can just go ahead and reload this page. And now we should actually be able, oh, we can look here and see that we do have additional session chat messages being loaded for session 81. So the polling has gone down quite a bit for this session. So let's reload and watch the console this time. Oop. Okay, so there's something wrong here. So let's see what else we can do. Let's do raw message. I don't remember how to do the string literals. Or is that what it's called? String. Template literals, that's what it is. All right, let's use these. And then we just want to wrap with $. See what happens here. It's possible the whole parse int business was not correct. Oh yeah, so session ID for the raw message is undefined. Okay, so I think this is the problem. It's one thing that kind of bugs me both with Twig and some of the JSON stuff. That oftentimes I see data coming in like this, but the actual camel case stuff is being used for the object itself. So I do this pretty frequently, get these wrong like that. Okay, messages not defined. All right, there we go. There we go. So we can see our messages container is filling up quickly every time we add new messages. So it looks like we have 41, and it looks like all of the messages are correct. So I think that's good. Okay, so we're doing what we need to do, which makes sense. Let's see here. One thing that we do need to do maybe a little differently is handling the time. So right now we have the timestamp being passed as this format. Let me see here. So I'm going to use the let's see here. I want to find the library we're using for this was moment time zone. Let's do JavaScript moment sort dates. There we go. All right. All right, so I'm going to use this and see if it works. Because ultimately what we're looking for here is making sure that this message ends up in the right order. So right now, we're just going to push it at the end, and then we're going to resort it. So let's do this dot messages, and we're going to sort it based on the timestamp. So I think that was what? Just timestamp? Yeah. Left dot timestamp, right dot timestamp. And let's also bring in moment. In addition to Axios. All right. Okay, so after we push the message on, resort everything, I think that, let's see what happens if we reload this page now. So originally we start with ID 227, 228, 229, and those numbers go up. We'll see how this impacts performance as well. Ooh. All right, so this actually, I'm not sure if it's actually slowing things down too much. Doing this in this way doesn't make me feel very good. This sort could eventually become quite slow. It's going to be important to do it on a message by message basis. In theory, the later received messages should always be able to just be appended. Problem is, if this ever ends up with, say, hundreds of messages, people are going to be resorting this every time, potentially without a need to, which could become quite expensive. Let's see what it did here. 7, 36, 7. Trying to see if there are any actually out of sequence. Because eventually I think that will be the case. All right, well, I'm going to, maybe I'll leave it here for now, with a little to do. Okay. So one of the other things I'm probably going to do is leverage something like this throttle. I'm going to do something like this to ensure that certain things only happen so often, because I don't necessarily want every single message that comes through here to actually cause a problem. So, for instance, I don't know if I want each individual message to cause a redraw right away. If I'm going to be processing, say, 30 messages back to back, I probably can wait up to a second to display them all, is what I'm thinking. So I'll worry about that in a bit. I kind of want to just move on from this for now. But at least we know we're getting the data correctly. So now that we're storing the data, we actually need to do something with it. So what we need to do is figure out where we're going to actually write objects to. So right now, what I think we can do, I'm going to go back to our countdown object and see how I did this. So set interval, get an update. Okay, set interval. All right, so we have show textual and show digital, and these actually go in and look at stuff. So I want to see, so we're using this .text content. So I'm going to look up real quick the web components spec to see what we can do, because I want to use both templates and potentially some other things with like the shadow DOM to hopefully make some of this a little faster. So I'm going to do a quick Google search for web components. Let's see here, web components, webcomponents.org. All right, concept and usage. Let's do shadow DOM. Open means you can access the shadow DOM using JavaScript in the main page context. Okay, so my custom lm.shadow root. Okay, and then you can get it. Let's check this one out. So this the simple example uses shadow root as well, I believe. Using custom elements, lifecycle. I'm going to try something here. So this text content. Create. Let's do open. Is that right? That's a string. All right, so it creates a shadow node. And then let's create an element. What's this? Superclasses constructor. All right. Parent. Super. There we go. Okay. So this should be enough to create a div. So it's div.text content equals, made this div here. Now I believe this isn't going to do anything. So I'm going to reload just to make sure that that's correct. Oh, no, it did attach it right away. Huh. Okay. Interesting. Let's do, so I want to get the shadow back out. Let's see. Shadow. Get. All right. So we are actually passing the content there. For some reason, this seems way more straightforward than what I thought we needed to do. I guess I shouldn't complain that this is going better than I had thought. All right, so let's do. I think what I really wanted to do though was have something more interesting. I'm not sure. So using the built-in elements. Like if I want to create a more proper structure. Well, I guess let's not worry about it just yet. So the way that we were building the live output, let's go look at that. So we have a template here. So we had messages container and messages template. So let's find this. Okay. So let's add this template to where? Web components template. All right, define element, my paragraph. Now we can just use that. Now we can use it by just adding it in our HTML. It doesn't actually look useful to me. Template elements, several features. creating a new from the template. So it looks like you still have to define it inside. Element details, element details. Okay, so span div element details. Where's element details template? Oh, so it is in there. That doesn't seem nice to me, but I guess it is what it is. So what it looks like we have to do is get the template from the document. You can't easily add a template inside for some reason. So let's go back to Astrocasts chat. So I think that means one of our jobs is going to be getting the ID for the template. So let's go see where chat lives. All right, so let's add our template here. So we're gonna use the same template we had before, and then pass this as the ID here. So we'll say session chat message template query or selector. And then we'll just pass in the existing ID, but we'll have to add this as well so that it acts as a selector. Let's go back to our chat. We'll do const template. Is that what we called it? Session chat message template selector. All right. Equals document dot select, no, query. What did we call it? Query selector, yeah. There we go. And we're going to use this dot get attribute at value. So this should get us the template, and then I think we want what? It's dot content, I believe. Yeah, dot content. And then what do we do with it? Template clone node true to actually add it. So that's something that we're not going to do right away. So we actually want to store this template to be used later. So div is create element. So let's do these bits down here, and we'll do this dot messages container. We'll call this div this dot messages container, and let's call this dot session chat message template. So these two values together will sort of get us back to the same place we were here. We'll still have to figure out what to do with that, with this bit of code too. Let's not worry about that just yet. So if we have our store pushing raw messages and then sorting them, at least for now it's going to be slow, but eventually it'll be good. We need to be able to then push that information somewhere else. So what we can do, let's see if we can emit events. Yeah, 6. I don't know if we actually have observables or whatever. Acquire events. Use event emitters. This looks really complicated. Is this something I can just do? Use. This is way more complicated than I wanted it to be. All right. So let's go ahead and just fake this. I'm not using anything special. Let's do subscribers. Subscribers.each. Let's see how that works. There we go. Let's do it that way for each. And we're going to get the subscriber. And let's do subscriber raw message. All right, and then we can do add subscriber. There we go. So that's a simple way to get this up and running. And then we can do some stuff here. So let's do console.log raw message, just to see if this stuff works as advertised. Yeah, okay. So for each message that comes in, we're actually getting the information out. So that works as we'd expect. Let's do all right, so we have the messages container template. Let's go see how we were dealing with that before. It's not what I wanted. All right, so we'll go back. Oh, wait, that's the session. We need to go back to live. There we go. So we're going to find the template. What do we do with the template? Pen chat message. There we go. So let's go in here. So we'll do const this message, and we're going to get this from this dot, what is it? Session chat message template dot clone node. So we already have the content, so we don't need to refer to that again. So we'll clone that node. We're going to use the same information. Let's do message. Let's not do source type. And let's not do author. And then let's do this dot messages, append child, this message. Theory, it should just start populating. Let's see if that works. Yes. Does not look pretty at all, but it is loading the information up as we would have expected. So that's good. I'm excited about that. I need to find out why it's not looking correctly, though. So we do have flex. I think the problem might be that we're not doing anything with this. There's no shrink. Chat. All right, and we go to live. That keeps happening. There we go. Okay, so we need it to be flex. So the container for messages needs to be flex. I think that might be the problem. So let's go ahead and try to fix that. So we'll go to our chat. Right now we're just doing a plain div. Let's do this messages container class. Class list dot add flex. See if that does anything interesting. It really didn't. Yeah, so we have flex. We do have flex. Start. With 10 and H10. Why is that not working? Oh, message author avatar. That shouldn't matter. I wonder if the shadow root can't use wonder if it doesn't inherit the Tailwind stuff. Oh, that's a pain. So we have the image. Should all be working. I don't understand. Is this getting it from SCSS? Is something broken? Huh. So we have image, we have class. But it doesn't seem to be getting any of that. Huh. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Supernova. All I get from chat is an LOL. Awesome. Let's see here. Let's just do this. And I will have to say that I absolutely hate Shadow. It has bit me every single time I've tried to do anything with it. And if this works, then I just, yeah. Awesome. Okay, so now we can do what? Flex call. I don't know, I'll do that down in here. So let's do add flex call. That's giving me problems. Okay, so this is just kind of a pain. This is working for this purpose, and it just does not make any sense to me why. It really doesn't. As far as I'm concerned, Shadow Root I don't know what it's useful for. Nothing that I've tried to use with it has worked out of the box or in any meaningful, interesting way. It just is awful and painful to work with. Because I have no understanding why this should matter. Maybe since we're here anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can try something. Maybe this needs to be closed. Who knows? No, looks like that doesn't matter. Or is it closed? Oh, yeah, that's actually not right. So at least it gives me an error when that's not right. Paying attention to using a standard style sheet. All right, use it. Now I'm going to find all these people complaining, how come this doesn't work? JPEGs. Old versions, yay! Oh. Styling. Using a shared style sheet. Let's see. I can see why people have written whole frameworks just around web components, which to me just seems like going in the wrong direction. You might as well use React and Vue at that point. Part of this was supposed to be that, at least my reason for being excited about it was I had hoped we could just do everything like normal and not have to use a framework. Theming. I think it's great that you can actually have styles that apply just to the target. I think that's great. I love that. All right. Well, I think that I'm going to leave it like it is. We're pretty much at time anyway. And it honestly does not hurt me at all to just do this because it works. It's sort of happy making. I kind of like it. Let's do one more class. Let's do max height. What are my options? Let's do, is there like half? No. Let's do screen. I think I need to figure out if I could do like half. I need to probably tweak my Tailwind style to give me that capability, but I think it might be worth it. Let's see. Yeah, so I think I would need to do, let's see, Tailwind, overflow, here we go. Let's do scroll. Overflow Y scroll. Even this, like I thought I would be able to create these templates somehow in sort of JavaScript, but still write them as normal HTML or something, but it doesn't seem like that works. There we go. So really I want that to be half, not the full screen. But it's getting there. So maybe rather than max height, let's just do, what's H? Does H have a half? H 480p. It's not working right. Indexing. Let's do H32. Okay, let's do H64. I think the styling is going to need to change anyway, because this doesn't really fit correctly with the rest of the public site anyway. It's taking up too much room. So like if we look at Twitch's chat, it's very, very small. So I think we'd probably want to do something more like that anyway. Let's do session. So let's do template. I wonder if I can do this. Shadow inner. And say MB8. That didn't really work. Because this makes sense. Oh, that's why. I was doing it on the template. If anything, that should have been on here. But I don't think it's going to work. Almost positive it won't. All right. Wow. Yeah, I don't think inner is what I'd want there. Let's do shadow and then rounded. Which sort of works. I feel like the padding is a bit weird. But I think I'll leave it like that for now. Because I think this is more or less a good stopping point for where we need it to be. Just for fun, because why not on a live episode? Let's go check out what this looks like. Awesome. So this works for live episodes as well. So that's pretty awesome. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining today. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be here tomorrow. So if you were hoping to come to tomorrow's session, yeah, that's not going to be able to happen. But I should be back again next week as normal. So thanks again for joining and have a great weekend.